In the recently concluded Delhi State Assembly elections, Aam Aadmi Party faced a defeat.
मैं नरेंद्र मोदी जी को कहना चाहता हूं, मोदी जी इस जन्म में तो आप हमको नहीं हरा सकते दिल्ली के अंदर आम आदमी पार्टी।
Not only that,
Arvind
Kejriwal has lost the election.
Today, he not only lost Delhi,
what a fall from political grace.
Arvind Kejriwal could not win his own seat, which he had won from Sheila Dikshit of Congress back in 2013. This has left him shocked, as not only did his party lose the election, he is now reduced only to be the party chief with hardly any power in governance. Recently, there have been a lot of discussion around the United States government arms working hand in glove with the people with vested interest to destabilize India. These revelations come in the backdrop of the new Trump government shutting down USAID.
The USAID is really corrupt. It's corrupt. It's incompetent and it's really corrupt.
A United States government arm, which under the garb of providing financial and developmental aid to the other countries, were accused of running regime change operations as well as assisting terror activities on American taxpayers' money. This has opened a can of worms in India, where a lot of deep state links are being exposed, and subsequent analysis of the same has revealed how some of the major political events in India in the 21st century may have been orchestrated right under our nose and we had no idea about it. Let us begin from the beginning. American billionaire George Soros' Open Society Foundation started its operation in India in 1999.
What's it like to have a lot of money?
It gives you a degree of freedom. And it also gives you a degree of power.
Soros is one of the richest men in the world.
He would be blamed for the financial collapses in Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
Over the years, Soros' nefarious motives in India have become quite clear.
India is an interesting case. It's a democracy, but its leader, Narendra Modi, is no Democrat. I may be naive, but I expect a democratic revival in India.
But back then, things were not as obvious. After all, the mainstream media was heavily under Congress influence.
मेरी ज़ोहरा ज़मी तुझे मालूम नहीं. Now you don't know that much about Hindi cinema.
I do.
बरखा एक बाजार में खड़ी थी. सूरत में कोई कम्युनल वायलेंस नहीं हुआ था.
थोड़ा सा दुकानें जली हैं, जैसे टिम्बर मार्केट.
एक छोटा मोटा घटना घटा. तो वो एक बाजार बंद था, वहाँ से वो खड़ी रही है. ये हीरों का बाजार है. ये है, यहाँ एक भी पुलिस वाला नहीं है, वगैरह वगैरह. मैंने उनको फोन किया. मैंने कहा ये हुड़दंगबाजों को तुम एड्रेस दे रहे हो क्या? यहाँ कोई पुलिस वाला नहीं है. आप लोगों को इनवाइट कर रहे हो क्या?
We'll ask General Musharraf what does he really think of our president, Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Let us say even 10% of Gujarat has a problem with the persona of Narendra Modi. Do you think it's the responsibility not just of you, of any chief minister, to reach out to that 10% also and say, look, my agenda is about development, my agenda is about water scarcity, my agenda is not about communal politics, I am sorry about 2002.
जिस प्रकार से हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स ने जो विषय तय किया है और जिसके लिए मुझे बुलाया गया है, उससे बाहर जा कर के कोई एक व्यक्ति जिसको एंकर बनने का अवसर मिल गया है, वो अपना एजेंडा थोपने की कोशिश करे. जो अपना एजेंडा थोपने की कोशिश करे तो ये शोभना भरतिया जी तय करे आगे क्या करना है, कैसे एंकरों को बुलाना, क्या करना, वो आप तय करे.
Subsequent to Soros Open Society Foundation starting its operation in India, two important events happened. First was the launch of Tehelka, the website which specialized in sting operations under the garb of investigative journalism. Tarun Tejpal and Anirudh Bahal, two journalists associated with Outlook, quit and started Tehelka to, according to them, redefine Indian journalism.
Please don't mix up a sting operation with illegal action.
But a sting operation that procures prostitutes, that bribes army officials, gives them alcohol. Surely the means that were adopted then by Tehelka, since you bring that up.
As far as I know, procuring prostitutes and securing drink is not against the law.
But bribing army officials and defense officials with them?
Well, offering to bribe them and they're taking it, that's what makes it
and was that not entrapment?
But I don't think there's any law infringed by offering a prostitute or suggesting that you have a drink with me.
A 2006 independent profile of Bahal mentions how they found one investor with deep pockets for their startup. While not much is known about the said investor with deep pockets, the website's initial series of sting operations were targeted at the Vajpayee government. Following the 1998 successful nuclear test in Pokhran conducted by the Vajpayee government, Tehelka's Anirudh Bahal and his colleague Matthew Samuel launched Operation West End in early 2000s, targeting the Indian defense defense establishment. After all, Indians were extremely proud of their army's feat after Kargil War, and a question mark on India's defense forces would rattle the confidence of people. Under Operation West End, a fake British company West End was floated which sought to sell thermal cameras to Indian government. Many politicians, defense personnel and bureaucrats were allegedly offered bribes in a bid to crack the deal. From money to prostitutes, Tehelka offered all in sting operation that almost led to the fall of Vajpayee government.
To uphold the morale of the armed forces and to prevent further damage to our national defense, I have decided to resign from government.
The then Defense Minister George Fernandes resigned. BJP party president Bangaru Lakshman and Samata party chief Jaya Jaitley also kicked over allegations of bribery. TMC's Mamata Banerjee left the alliance, bringing the central government on the brink of collapse.
We cannot compromise with the security of our country and especially the prestige of the country. It is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And that's why the message should go to the people that government is very firm and government has to be neat and clean.
Later, Fernandes was cleared of all the charges and reinstated. In July 23, Delhi High Court also asked Tarun Tejpal to pay ₹2 crore in damages to Major General Ahluwalia in the charges for falsely accusing him of taking bribes. Later, Fernandes was accused of the coffin scam in 2002. It was alleged that following the 1999 Kargil War, the coffins that were brought from the United States to carry the mortal remains of the Kargil War soldiers were bought at a higher price. The alleged scheme made headlines just before the 2004 election. However, the CBI could not furnish any evidence in its 2009 charge sheet against Fernandes. In fact, in October 2015, the Supreme Court discharged all the accused in this alleged scam as being not guilty. You might have seen the haunting image of George Fernandes raising his left hand while tied in an iron chain from 1976. Indira Gandhi imposed emergency. Fernandes was arrested in the Baroda dynamite case, where he was falsely accused of overthrowing the government. The case was later withdrawn in 1977 by the subsequent Janata government at centre. It was hence no surprise that the Nehru-Gandhi family and Congress was not a big fan of Fernandes. Fernandes was also the Defence Minister of India when the December 2001 parliamentary attack took place, followed by the 27 Feb 2002 Godhra carnage that spilled into communal riots in Gujarat. 59 Hindus returning from Ayodhya after carrying out the Karseva at Ram Janmabhoomi were burnt alive in a train. Owing to the tension at the border in aftermath of Kargil War as well as parliamentary attack.
सेना को बुलाया नहीं गया इतनी देर तक, 3 दिन नहीं बुलाया गया. आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा there was no delay.
Allegations were also raised that the army took longer to be deployed at communally sensitive areas.
हमने कोई लेट लतीफी नहीं करी थी. जिस दिन गुजरात बंद का ऐलान हुआ उसी दोपहर को हमने सेना को बुला लिया था.
However, if one verifies the mainstream media reports from that time, the subsequent claims made by people with vested interests could easily be refuted. One may think these events are independent and unrelated, but when one connects the dots, they hardly appear so. For example, subsequent to 2002 Gujarat riots, a breed of NGOs and activists sprung up to fight for so-called minority rights.
Non-profit organizations, but not all of them really work for non-profit.
Gujarat remains my reference point for a moral law.
When he was asked why are you not even setting up relief camps, he replied, I think one of the worst hate statements that I've heard from any head of government, and that was, I'm not setting up relief camps because I don't want to set up baby producing factories.
Of course we want to win, but winning in a bourgeois election cannot be the primary goal.
एक पुलिस अफसर का नाम दिया है, एक एनजीओ का नाम दिया है और कुछ पॉलिटिकल एलिमेंट्स का नाम दिया है. ये तीनों ने मिलकर जजमेंट के अंदर ये स्पष्ट कर दिया है कि सनसनी खड़ी करने के लिए झूठ बातों को फैलाया गया.
Some prominent amongst them were Tisla Sitalwad, Harsh Munder and Mukul Sinha. Sitalwad has later been accused of embezzling funds for victims. She was accused of being paid by Congress leader Ahmed Patel to destabilize the newly formed Narendra Modi government in the state.
For the first time in the history of independent India, a sitting Chief Minister, Narendra Modi, has been questioned on the role of his government in mass murders in connection with the post-Godhra riots in Gujarat.
एक छोटी टोली है, इनको लगता है कि हमने इतनी मेहनत की, मोदी पर इतना हमने तूफान चलाया, ये हारता क्यों नहीं है, ये मरता क्यों नहीं है, ये खत्म क्यों होता नहीं है. अगर मोदी पर जो इल्जाम लगाए गए हैं और उसमें रत्ती भर भी सच्चाई, अगर 100 इल्जाम है लेकिन एक में भी सच्चाई हो, मैं मानता हूँ भारत के उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए, भारत में उज्जवल परंपराओं के लिए चौराहे पर खड़े रख करके मोदी को फांसी देनी चाहिए और ऐसी मोदी की बुरा हाल करना चाहिए ताकि भविष्य में 100 साल तक कोई ऐसा पाप कर न सके।
She was also accused of influencing witnesses in the 2002 Gujarat riots. Tisla Sitalwad is accused of coaching witnesses and making ridiculous accusations in several cases related to the Gujarat riots in 2002.
I don't think you can understand what is happening in India today until you understand what happened in Gujarat over 12 years. What was the Gujarat model?
Harsh Mandir, we all know, has been a long-time beneficiary of George Soros Open Society Foundation. As per the Mehta Nanavati Commission report, set up to investigate the 2002 Godhra carnage, it was activist lawmaker Mukul Sinha who first raised the bogey of other reason behind the carnage other than Muslim mob setting it on fire. Sinha had claimed that he had evidence that the fire was due to a spontaneous scuffle at the Godhra station and not a larger planned conspiracy as said by the state government. This, along with the other conspiracy theories that a cooking stove spilling kerosene inside the coach led to fire, were raised to obfuscate the real reason and make the perpetrators, that is the murderous Muslim mob, appear like a victim so that the Islamophobia bogey can be put in motion. All these things happened in the first ever non-Congress led government that managed to complete full 5-year term. ये संयोग था या प्रयोग? Another thing that happened around the same time was the establishment of Arvind Kejriwal's NGO Parivartan.
क्या हम लोगों को कुछ करना चाहिए इस बारे में या घर बैठना चाहिए? करना चाहिए। और मंत्री सारे हमारे, हम मालिक हैं और वो लोग नौकर हैं।
It was not a registered NGO and ran on individual donations. Manish Sisodia was also one of his associates. They called themselves Jan Andolan, that is People's Movement. Kejriwal was then associated with the Indian Revenue Services and was an income tax officer and started an anti-bribe movement in the tax department. Parivartan's first movement was to demand transparency in government departments, and Kejriwal chose the tax department. He then moved on the Right to Information Act, which was passed in the Delhi government. Various RTI applications were filed on many projects. As per a 2003 report, RTI applications were filed on various resettlement projects in Delhi's Sundar Nagari, where alleged misappropriation of rupees 70 lakh was found in about 64 projects. Later, the unorganized group of people formalized their structure into an NGO named Kabir in 2005, which got massive funding from the Ford Foundation. Kejriwal quit his lucrative career as an income tax officer and in 2006 got rewarded with Magsaysay Award. Magsaysay Awards have been established by two CIA-linked American agencies in memory of former Philippines President Ramon Magsaysay, who was groomed by the CIA to protect America's interests in Asia. The US has several military bases in Asian countries. The US wanted to stop the communists from gaining power in Philippines and hence proposed Ramon Magsaysay. The CIA had planned very well chalked out. They even made him lose an election to build his clean image, and hence 1951 elections held in Philippines were portrayed to be clean and fair since his party lost 9 seats, leading to great PR move. He won the subsequent 1953 elections and was the president of Philippines till his untimely death in plane crash in 1957. Magsaysay's image was perceived to be one of the cleanest and most corruption-free leaders and was often called champions of the masses. Anti-corruption crusader backed by US funding being made a leader? Does that sound familiar?
कांग्रेस पार्टी जिंदाबाद, सोनिया गांधी जिंदाबाद।
राहुल गांधी ने बार बार स्पष्ट किया है कि डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी प्रधानमंत्री बने।
Most of the scams that took place during the UPA 1 were exposed in the UPA 2. Both the times, it was the Congress image that was tarnished, as not only was it the ruling party, but Sonia Gandhi, Congress president, was also accused of running the government through shadow PMO by NSC. NSC, the de facto Prime Minister's office during the UPA regime, consisted of Soros plants such as Harsh Mandir and other so-called activists whose speciality over the years have been installing developmental projects in India. Further, the Congress party also got into the MOU with China's ruling party. The bilateral knowledge agreement between Congress and CCP was signed by Rahul Gandhi on behalf of Congress and current China's President Xi Jinping on behalf of the CCP. This muddled the Gandhi Parivar, which was now battling multiple accusations of being corrupt. Which is why youth leader Rahul Gandhi could not quite be groomed as an anti-corruption crusader.
मेरा नाम राहुल सावरकर नहीं है, मेरा नाम राहुल गांधी है। मैं जाऊंगा मगर माफी नहीं मांगूंगा।
You see, his image was that of a non-serious Nepo kid who only had his family name to his credit. Plus, how do you claim to be cleaning up corruption when you and your party leaders themselves are accused of the scams? Hence, to fight the good fight against corruption, a crusader in the form of Kejriwal was proposed. In May 2009, George Soros has visited India just before forming the UPA 2 government. 2009 Lok Sabha election results were declared on 16th May 2009. Dr. Manmohan Singh was invited by President Pratibha Patil to form government on 20th May 2009, and he swore in as Prime Minister on 22nd May 2009. On 26th May, Shashi Tharoor tweeted he had met Soros. Since Tharoor was in the national capital to swear in as a Minister of State in 2 days, it is very likely Soros was in Delhi as well. Now, on 29th May 2009, media reports say that George Soros went to Chandigarh to meet Fori Nehru, a close relative of the Gandhis. Born a Jew, Fori Nehru was married to B.K. Nehru, a cousin to Indira Gandhi. Very interesting of Soros to come all the way to India to meet a close relative of Nehru Gandhi Parivar just during the formation of the new government at centre. Now, let us come back to Arvind Kejriwal. Anna Hazare's India Against Corruption movement came at the opportune time where Kejriwal and Sisodia attached themselves to the people's movement like parasites. They latched on the public sentiments and propelled their growth as full-fledged politicians.
My pleasure to introduce to you the Secretary General of Amnesty International, Salil Shetty.
In another part of the world, away from the mainstream politics, Salil Shetty took over as Secretary General of Amnesty International in 2010. Prior to joining Amnesty International, Shetty was Project Director of the UN Millennium Fellowship Program. The UN Millennium Fellowship Program happens on educational institutions and had an objective of forming groups of NGOs, media, and civil society to lead various social movements. One such movement was Ask Your Government. In January 2010, 100 civil society organizations come together to document public access to budget information in 80 countries. It wanted citizens to ask their governments about developmental programs. In theory, it makes sense to make citizens aware of public spending. However, the Soros-funded initiative had the goal to plant doubts in mind of people against their own governments, leading to a state of chaos and anarchy. Salil Shetty's experience in gathering information across countries helped him take Amnesty International to a bigger scale. He traveled to about 70 countries in a bid to either protect or establish democracy. The Arab Spring, the series of anti-government protests in the early 2010s in Arab countries such as Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Yemen, Syria and Bahrain, where the leaders were replaced. Street demonstrations also took place in Morocco, Iraq, Algeria, Lebanon, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman and Sudan. The protests, which established democracy, pushed the Middle East, such as the civil war in Syria, rise of ISIS, insurgency in Iraq, followed by the civil war, Egyptian crisis and civil war situation in Libya and Yemen. Most of these countries had regime change. This movement may have appeared to be irrelevant for India since India was an established democracy that too was largest. Hence, we never once thought that the regime change operations were in place here as well. Kejriwal and gang very smartly brought about this revolution here, which makes one wonder if the scams that took place in UPA 1 were also orchestrated such that the anti-corruption crusaders such as Kejriwal could be planted. Kejriwal quickly abandoned his social work and became a politician. He first dislodged Congress Sheila Dikshit as Delhi's chief minister, but unhappy with lack of absolute power, he abandoned his post and went to contest the 2004 general elections against Narendra Modi from Varanasi. Kejriwal has lost his prestige elections, and Rahul Gandhi and his sister Priyanka Gandhi have failed to revive the Congress. Salil Shetty, who is now the global vice president of Soros Open Society Foundation, in October 2022 joined Rahul Gandhi in his Bharat Jodo Yatra in Karnataka. Interestingly, before that, he was also present at the farmers' protest in India against the new farmers' laws. The protest had eventually culminated into the 26 January 2021 Red Fort siege and violence. Before the farmers' protests, Shetty had also taken part in the anti-CA protests in India. Kejriwal perhaps thought he was invincible, and there was no way his freebie policies would work against him and Delhi would vote him out. But that is the beauty of democracy, at least in the world's largest democracy. After all, the Indian government pulled the plug on various NGOs which were reviving monies from dubious channels, and against all hopes, Donald Trump got re-elected by playing the same system that played him in 2020. The past that we are not too happy, what happens now will be interesting. But one thing is for sure, everything that happens anywhere in the world, it is not in isolation and it is indeed part of the larger scheme of things.